Okay, I'd like to introduce to you our special guests. To my right, your left, on the far side, Wade Hostetler, who's one of our Luncheon Club trustees. Next to Wade, of course, we just heard from Ryan Barnett. Thank you, Ryan. To my left, your right next to me is our presenter of our speaker today, Mark Milano. Our featured speaker, Jim Ballard. Next to Jim is lovely wife, Gretchen. And the apple of any daddy's eye, his daughter, Addison. And over here on table, I think it's still table 8 or 7, his son, Jack Ballard. Jack, stand up. And of course, we want to recognize our media partners. That would be Sam Berkwin over in the corner there, Sam. TJ Downing here in the front. And they're, of course, both with Start Media. Recognition of our Luncheon Club corporate sponsors are presented on the boards up above you there. All Cares Primetime Health, Dr. Peter Ferguson. Dr. Pete, where are you? Please stand up, because he left. Oh, he did leave. Okay, all right. We'll get him next time. Wilkshire Golf Course and Liberty Ford. Please lend us support to any of those that are sponsors. We couldn't do it without them, and I'm greatly appreciated for their financial support. Announcements. As always, please silence the phones, or preferably turn them completely off. All right. A big thank you goes out to Steve Dorshek and the wonderful article and the Canton Repository for our last week's sponsored Joe DeLamoliere and the article about our Luncheon Club. Much appreciated. The next announcement concerns we will be returning to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, to the Nash Center where we had last week's meeting. It will be the second out of 4 that are planned for over there this season. And it will be, our next one will be Monday, November 21st. So mark that down in your calendars. Stay tuned for announcements regarding the purchase of tickets. And that announcement is right now because I was able to get it early. We will be selling tickets instead of just 2 weeks. It'll be 3 full weeks of tickets. So those go on sale Monday, the 31st of October. So when you're done taking off your Halloween garb, don't forget to purchase a ticket that day. If you happen to forget that day, we'll be selling the next 2 weeks also, that being Monday the 7th and Monday the 14th. So the 14th will be the absolute deadline for tickets. Those are all pre-purchased, of course, and they're $15 as is when we hold here. Okay, we do have a limited supply, I am told, of our gray long sleeve club shirts that were last spring. So they look like this guy here. Nice fit. Most guys ended up taking a size bigger than what they thought they might. Okay, and we do have 1 small, no mediums. We have 1 large and 4 extra large. So they're small, or there's not too many. And then we have 2 of the short sleeve club polo with the embroidered logo. And this one that I'm holding is an XL, and we also have 1 large. If you're interested in any of those, Tim, would you stand up so that they know who we are? Tim Richard, our treasurer, and he's also our person that will pass out the winner to the 50-50. On a sad note, one of our longtime members, 60-year member, Walt Bud Zimmer. He's still with us. That's not the sad note. The sad note is that he lost his wedding ring at the Nash Center last week, and they have not found it yet. If anyone finds that or hears anything, please get it to one of the officers of the club, and I know he'd be forever indebted should that happen to turn up. So everybody say a little, prayer that it might get discovered and found and turned back to Walt. Last week's winning 50-50 was not claimed. We think it was possibly a trustee, but the ticket did not turn up, so it got turned back over. Today's raffle 50-50, we're going to do right now at this time. It is for $174, and Tim Richard, our treasurer, will be glad to hand that over to you. So please get out your tickets if you had one. Purchase. Okay. Busy, right? This week's winning ticket, again for 174, is ticket 604 635. 635 again. It's a white ticket. 635 is the last three digits. Please raise your hand. Who's got it? Right over here. All right, great. 635. There's the winner. Lucky winner. Excellent. Very good. Okay. And next week's speakers will be the head coaches of the Massillon Tigers and McKinley Bulldogs. Mr. Antonio Hall and Nate Moore will be our special guests and speakers, and with appearances by, you know how big of a week this is coming up. Tom Burnaby, our Canton mayor, and Kathy Catazero Perry, the mayor of Massillon, will be present. Okay. And now I'll introduce our presenter for our featured speaker today, a Greater Canton Amateur Sports Hall of Famer and Start Media team member. You guys all know who I'm talking about. Mark Milano. Thanks, Mark, for being here.
Thank you for the introduction, and it's an honor to be here before this distinguished audience today. You know, when I started making my notes, my wife Laura said, "She goes, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm making my notes. I get to introduce Jim Ballard." She goes, "Whatever you do, don't try to be too charming, witty, or intelligent." She goes, "Just be yourself." That's 35 years of wedding bliss, my friends. So with that, I'm going to take her advice. Jim graduated from Cuyahoga Falls High School and then went on to play for the Mount Union University. While at Mount Union, he shattered 17 Division III records, threw for over 12,000 yards and over 150 touchdowns, and lost only one OAC conference game. He led Mount Union to their first ever national title in 1993, and trust me, that first one's the toughest to get and the one that everybody's always going to wind up remembering. He also received 21 Heisman Trophy votes in that senior year in 1993. He was a two-time recipient of the Mike Gregory Award given to the top OAC back. He was a three-time conference selection. He won the Gagliardi Award for being the Division III Player of the Year. He was so good that they renamed the Division III Quarterback of the Year award after him, and he was inducted into the College Hall of Fame in 2008. Upon graduation, he went on to play for the Bengals, Falcons, Bills, and also played in Canada for the Argonauts. And I think if you ask him, he could probably still sing the Canadian national anthem. He got those pipes cleared. He also played in NFL Europe, where he won the World Bowl Championship in 1996. His continued love of the game has taken him to the broadcast booth, and TJ Downing and I, who's right here in front of me, are blessed to have him there with us. Jim also started the Ballard Quarterback Academy in 2005, and I can tell you right now, if you're a young man and you want to play the position of quarterback, this is the guy that you need to go and see. Now, all that time that he played quarterback, his best audible wasn't Omaha. It was his decision to marry his lovely wife, Gretchen, who's sitting over here today. And yes, my friend, you still did outkick your coverage. So with that, please give my broadcast partner a warm welcome here, Jim Ballard.
Sorry about that. I put this up a little bit.
Yeah, are you telling me something?
A little bit. A little nervous. I can't say I won't get choked up. A little emotional. I appreciate the opportunity to be here once again. I'd like to thank you, Mark, for the great introduction. The Hall of Fame Luncheon Club.
There's feedback on the
Down.
mic, like that. Yeah, there you
Once again, I would like to thank Mark, the Hall of Fame Luncheon Club, Tozzis, and all the great people that make this possible for us to be a part of this every single Monday. A lot of great speakers have been up here. I'm truly honored and humbled to speak before you once again. I'd also like to thank all the people that have reached out to me by text, Twitter, Facebook, and every other way that we communicate these days. Man, what a crazy weekend it's been. I ended up sending RJ a text on last Wednesday night, and I said, "Hey, who's speaking on Monday? And when am I supposed to speak?" And he sends me a text back, and he said in all caps, it says, "You are speaking Monday." So after seeing that text, I realized there was a little panic in the text from RJ, and I called him when we spoke just to reassure him that we'd be okay and we'd handle this. RJ also is a Mount Union guy, which is great. I look out, I see a lot of purple with Mount Union. I appreciate the people that are repping the Mount Union University, as Mark so eloquently introduced. I saw a gentleman in the back with a Cuyahoga Falls Black Tigers hat. Shout out to you as well. I don't see those very often. The black and gold is still in my heart. Needless to say, 6 leagues, 10 teams, got cut 8 times. 8 times. Somebody telling me you're just not good enough to be here. The first one was the hardest. I think back to all the experiences and where I was and how good I thought I was and where I would end up. And, I ended up in my first quarterback room with Dan Marino, Bernie Kosar, Doug Peterson, who later started for the Browns and was a Super Bowl winning coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, Kelly Stouffer, who was a first-round draft pick in '87, and Jim Ballard. So I'm looking at all these guys in the room and thinking, wow. But Kelly Stouffer did get cut first. I didn't. But I did eventually get cut shortly after that. And I remember sitting across from Don Shula, and he asked me point blank, "Jim, do you have a backup plan?" And I said, "Yeah, coach, I do. I'm gonna be a teacher. I'm gonna be a coach." He looked me dead in the eye. I'll never forget this. He goes, "I just don't think you're good enough to play in this league." And that one hurt, to say the least. So Don Shula's restaurant is going to the Hall of Fame Village, and I've talked to Ann Graffis and some of the great people over there, and I said, "Damn it." I said, "I want the first steak because that's the guy who told me that I was not good enough to play in the NFL." But you know what? Football teaches you a lot. I was trying to figure out what I was going to wear today. Everybody wears suits, and I wore the suit the first time that I spoke. And, again, 6 leagues and 10 teams. And I was part of 2 championship teams as Mark said. I was part of Mount Union's first national championship team, who won the World Bowl in 1996. And I started thinking, you get excited about a new team and a new jersey. My son's over there with his buddies, and everybody's always wearing the jerseys, and I went with this because this is my team now. I'm a part of Stark Media, And we're a first-year company, and it's the first time we're together, but we've got a great team. We got Sam Berkland, Mark Milano, TJ Downing, myself. I'm proud to be a part of that team. First-year team, you know, when you get together and you start something like this, there's ups and downs, and there's things that you don't plan for. But this is a championship team, and what we're doing is a great thing. And I'm very, very proud to be a part of Stark Media and continue to be a part of it. You know, my son Jack is sitting over there with his friends, AJ Malini and the Nalepa boys, and RJ's kids are over here. And I was so excited when I found out that I was speaking today, because I quickly realized that it was a long weekend and the kids were off on Monday. You know, obviously this isn't the normal with kids over in the corner, but what a great opportunity for me to speak and have my kids be a part of it. My daughter Addison's sitting over there, my son's sitting in the corner, my wife on the table a little bit. I'm here to let you guys know that I was you. I was a starry, big-eyed 10 and 11-year-old that wanted to play in the NFL. And it was something that I always wanted to do. And my road to get here is much, much, much different than most people that come up here. I went to a Division III school. I was a -4 star recruit out of Cuyahoga Falls. That played maybe, I think I started 14 games in high school. I didn't play varsity my sophomore year. I started varsity my junior year. I played 4 games and I broke my foot. You know, junior year's, you know, the year that you're trying to get recruited, you get on the map a little bit. You know, we didn't have Huddle and Twitter and Facebook and all the other, you know, media platforms to expose yourself, to get noticed, to get recognition, for people to find out. My parents signed me up for a scouting service, of all things, you know, looking back. And I ended up going to Wilmington College at first because of College Prospects of America. My point is, it doesn't matter what your journey is to get there, it's that you got there. And I'm here to let you guys know, why not you? Why can't you be up here one day? Because you can. And if somebody tells you you can't, just use it as fuel. Let it motivate you a little bit more to work that much harder to achieve exactly what you guys want to achieve. You can be up here. So the funny thing is, my son, as I said, is sitting there with AJ Malini. And the full circle with that is, after we won the national championship in 1993, myself, Eddie Bubonics, Jimmy Gresco, who was passed about a year ago, some of my teammates were still celebrating, if you will, after the championship about a week later. And we have an opportunity to go talk to an elementary school. And, you know, we didn't go to bed early, went to bed a little late, got together in the car, and we're sitting outside of this elementary school about 7:30 in the morning, with a couple hours of sleep. And we're supposed to go in there and talk about what it takes to be a champion. So we're looking around, and I look at Eddie Bubonics and I say, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I can barely open my eyes right now, and what it takes to be a champion. So I end up, he looks at me and says, you know what, just use the word champion and just let each letter stand for something. So I did, and the first letter in champion is C, and I said, you know, commitment, and then H, hard work, and then A, academics, M, for make a list of goals, P, play every game like it should last, I, no I in team, O, opportunity, and N, never give up. So I went in there and I gave that speech, and do we have the ability to throw it up on my website? No? Okay. So anyways, if you go to BallardQuarterbackAcademy.com, based on that night out in the parking lot, my mantra on my website is the champion's way. And the crazy thing is, to tie it all in, the class that I spoke to was over at Marlington, and it just so happens that it was AJ Malini's mom who was in that class that I gave that speech to. So fast forward 30 some years later, AJ's sitting in the audience. I came up with this speech on a couple hours of sleep, and now it's my mantra that I use on my website. Commitment, hard work, academics, make a list of goals, play every play like it's your last. No I in team, opportunity, and never give up. Pretty cool how that comes full circle. Also means I'm getting old. Yeah, it's been 4 years since I've been in front of you great people to speak and to talk about myself and my story and the unbelievable fortunate career that I had as an athlete. 4 years, graduation class, if you will. A lot's happened in the last 4 years for me. I was married and got married again on 7/13/20. And the significance of that is 7 and 13 is 20, that's 2020. A lot of things became really clear to me. And one of that was the fact that I had such an amazing woman that took me so long to find. And it never would have happened had it not been for a trip out to Colorado that we spent together. And it just made sense. Like a lot of the issues and the things that I felt in the past about being married and everything else just fell away and just became so right. And again, fast forward, the person that officiated our wedding was Erin Milano, Mark's daughter. It was an amazing day. It was really quiet. It was maybe 5 or 6 people, and it was in our backyard. There was no other person when I found out that I was going to speak that I wanted to introduce me more than Mark Milano. Mark and his wife and his kids have truly been family since we started doing games together. I do a show every Monday, which is a blast if you haven't watched it. High school football playbook on Tuesdays. Amazing day. Such a lot of fun. Also became a father again about 1.5 years ago. Reginald James Ballard I, our black pug. My first puppy at 50 years old. We picked him up, I believe, about 18 months or so ago. But you know, 50 years old, I had a dog, but I'd never had a puppy from the beginning. That's been a lot of fun to share that with her and to have him. I also officiated a wedding, and it was Gretchen's oldest daughter, Alexis, that I officiated. Now listen, I've won a national championship. I've won a World Bowl. I've done a lot of great things in my time. I've played in front of 60, 70,000 people. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm standing at Stan Hewitt Hall with my notes in hand, and I'm watching her walk down, and it's a long walk. And I am trembling like a leaf. Winning those championships was nothing compared to officiating my wedding. It was an unbelievable experience to me. I just didn't want to make a mistake, didn't want to screw it up. But it was a beautiful day. Everything came off without a hitch. Talk about pushing yourself and doing things that you don't think you can ever do. That was definitely one of them, to stand in front of people like, you know, now. And things when you speak, you can always cover up your mistakes or go through it. But man, you say the wrong thing at a wedding and the whole thing can go haywire. So I'm going to drop the mic on that, I believe, and probably stay 1 for 1. You know, I was supposed to speak with TJ Downing in January, and I was not able to do it. I don't know, a lot of you knew, but I was in pretty bad shape. You know, COVID has affected a lot of us. We've lost a lot of good people. You know, Judd Logan was one of them. I mean, I could be up here all day with all the connections we had to what happened with COVID. So my wife and I got sick. We took the test. We both had it. You know, we kind of battled back and forth. And at the time, we had a puppy too. So that was trying, because anybody that's had a puppy, you know how hard that is to potty train him and everything else. You got to take him out. And, you know, she was sick, but I got sicker. And I knew I was in trouble. I mean, you just don't know how bad it is because you're, an athlete. I'm fine, rub some dirt on it, that kind of mentality. I hate going to doctors. The only time you go to doctors, if, for me, is if I was having surgery or somebody was dying. And the only two blessings that happened at the hospital, when I went was my daughter, Addison, and my son, Jack. Sorry, I told you it was gonna be so I kept getting sicker, and I realized that walking up the stairs became an issue. And, pretty soon I was on the couch, and I was in bad shape. I truly didn't know how bad. But my wife called Dr. Stephen Davis, and she told him what was going on. He's like, you gotta get him to the hospital. I just saw Steve, about a week ago. And he told me flat out, he goes, if you would have stayed on that couch for about another 12 or 18 hours, he goes, you were hypoxic, you were gonna die. So when I went in, I had, my pulse ox was 72, and my D-dimer level, which measures whether your blood's gonna clot, was 1450. So I went into the hospital on a Monday, and they gave me the test. I had, COVID pneumonia was everywhere in my lungs. I was having a hard time breathing. And, by Wednesday, things weren't working real well. And, it's crazy how things are supposed to happen. And through the game of football, I finished up one of my groups, and I was on my way home, and I just happened to stop into the new Dollar General, heading towards into Canal Fulton. And a buddy of mine now, he was just standing in line, and I made a remark. I didn't have a mask on because I just didn't want to put one on. He didn't have one on, so I said, "Hey, you're not wearing a mask." He's like, "You're not wearing a mask." So, just a chance meeting. We ended up walking outside. We start talking. I introduced myself. He introduced himself, and I'm like, "I've heard of you." He's like, "Oh, I know. I followed your career." So all that. Anyways, like a couple of old women around the water cooler or whatever. It's like, "Hey, can I get your number?" And you know how that goes. You go to a meeting or you meet somebody. It's like, "Hey, can I get your number?" And a lot of times you get the number and you don't really call or follow up or anything else. Well, I ended up calling him, and he ended up coming to one of my quarterback groups, and then he ended up talking to another one of my quarterback's dads. And when he found out that I was sick, he brought ivermectin to my house, and my wife dosed it up. A phone call was made, and I ended up getting ivermectin, and within 4 days, my D-dimer levels fell, and I ended up getting out of the hospital. And that guy, Scott Koenig, who's sitting at the table over there. Because of Scott, because of Rick Deli, because of Stephen Davis, I'm here today. And I really appreciate your friendship and everything that, how much you guys have all been there. I mean, I was in the hospital, as I said, and I came in on Monday, and on Wednesday, I'm literally having a phone conversation with Mark and TJ. And, I felt fine. And then on Thursday, the doctor told my wife that you should probably call his parents because he's going to pass. He's probably not going to make it through the night. I was maxed out on blood thinners. I was maxed out on oxygen. There was nothing else they can do. I ended up getting ivermectin, and I'm able to deliver this speech. So, to get through that, I talk to my quarterbacks, and I'm so lucky that I have so many platforms to be able to talk about not just my experiences as, quarterback and the accomplishments and everything else, being able to teach kids, but what a lesson that you learn from the game, because life is a game, and when you're down, it's real easy to give up if you're that sick. but you just gotta dust yourself off, fight through it. The support that I had from all my friends and my family to get me through it has been immense. I still struggle. 10 months later, I still lose my breath a little bit when I'm starting to get animated, either on the air or working with my quarterbacks. Still fight, but it's better than the alternative. And the game, teaches you that. The game of football, on any game, it just teaches you so many life lessons. How to be a part of a team, understanding your role, getting along with others, having successes, having failures. Because without failures, without getting knocked down, without, getting cut, there is no success. You fail and you figure it out and you work harder and then you try not to make the same mistakes over and over again. And that's what I've tried to do. That's what I've tried to instill in my kids, and to be able to tell them, my kids meaning my daughter and my son, but also I always say my kids because of the kids that I train. I've been training quarterbacks for a long time, and it's been such a rewarding, it's been so rewarding. Some of the quarterbacks that I've done training, I've trained Jeff McCuddy's son, I've trained Platic, I've trained every quarterback that went to the state for Canton Central Catholic. I work with Jack Talkington right now, Lucas Eckerman from Jackson, who just played quite a bit last Friday night, who's a 14-year-old freshman. Let me tell you what, keep your eye on him because he's truly going to be special. He's just different. I worked with Will Butler from Lake. I worked with Trevor Van Horn from Green last year that had an unbelievable year. John Davies from Green. I worked with Reed Worstel from Glenham. Austin Appleby from North Canton Hoover. Dom Arrow from Hoover. And on and on. I mean, how cool is it to be able to make a living working with kids, being able to commentate games, being able to speak in front of great people like you and talk about my stories, not just the football stuff. I mean, it was unbelievable. I wouldn't trade anything for everything that's happened up to this point. I turned 50, and once I turned 50, which wasn't long ago, but you really start, at least for me, you really start dissecting what your life has been in the decades that you were, and how different you were in your 20s to your 30s to your 40s and now. Some of the things that were so important then, it really don't mean that much now. And I love the game of football. I absolutely love the game of football. I was always a fan, even when I was a player. I remember one time where I had just signed back with the Bills. And so we're playing up at Lambeau Field in Green Bay. And if has anybody ever gone to a game at Green Bay, it's an unbelievable experience. And for me, as I said, as a fan, I'm walking on this field, thinking about all the ghosts, Vince Lombardi, that they named the trophy after, all the great players. And we're playing them, and Alex Van Pelt actually started that game. Alex Van Pelt is the offensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. But Stefanski's calling plays, and let's be honest, he blew it in the last minute again yesterday, trying to settle for a 54-yard field goal. Can we just get it a little bit closer to make the kick easier? Can we just play cover 4 in the last 2 minutes of a damn football game and not let guys get behind us? I coached my son's flag team on Thursday, and after that game, when they blew that 13-point lead, when they were in prevent or whatever the hell it was they were supposed to be in, you give up a touchdown, and then they get the onside kick and they end up losing. So I come to practice that following Thursday, and I looked at my son and his team, and I said, hey, we're up 13 points in the fourth quarter. What coverage are we going to run? Which we call what? Safe. What a novel idea. 11-year-olds know it. You back everybody off and keep it all in front of you. But anyways, it's so irritating being a Browns fan. Just years of pure mental abuse. You know who has the best job in the state of Ohio? Psychologists. Because it's endless. Hopefully they figure it out. And if not, we still have the Ohio State University, TJ. So we can always rely on the guys in the purple and white, right? At Mount Union.
Yep.
Crazy. Last year's class was the first class since before me in '92 that did not win at least one national championship. Incredible run. And looking back, to be the first quarterback of the championship teams, it's pretty special. You know, and then so we win the first national championship. And as I said, we celebrated for quite a while. And one of the things that we said is, you know, and we were good. I mean, we were really good. You know, we had Eddie Bubonics, who was an All-American. I had Sean Lyons, who was an All-American. Robbie Atwood, who was an All-American tight end. Sean was a wide receiver. Jimmy Gresko was an All-American running back. Todd Zufra ended up being an All-American. Mike Sirianni, who's the head coach of Washington and Jefferson, was a two-time All-Conference receiver as well. I just didn't have enough footballs to get him. It was like this. It didn't matter where I threw it, one of those guys were going to catch it. But we kept saying, and our defense was solid. We had Mike Howlett, who coaches with Jason Canton, was the co-offensive coordinator for Toledo. He was a three-time All-American defensive end. And all we kept saying in our arrogance at the time, thinking we were pretty good, is there's never going to be another team like us again. There were 12 more. 13 national championships. Coach Larry Carey, Football Hall of Fame. They just rededicated the stadium after him. What an unbelievable coach. Unbelievable leader of men. So well respected in the coaching profession. You know, when Coach Karras would go to these clinics, it was like E.F. Hutton, you know, Saban. All these guys were just waiting to hear what he had to say. Really, really cool to be able to say that we were the first ones to win it. Since then, he's done, you know, did an unbelievable job, not just as a coach, but as a guy who helps coach coaches. It's easier to coach players because it's players, formations, plays. But being a coach is different. You have to understand the mental aspect of the game. And he's done that. And I've said this numerous times. The one thing that needs to be done is some sort of 30 for 30, either on Coach Karras, on his coaching tree, and all the coaches that have come from the top down. You know, we talk about Jason Canton and Mike Howlett. I would be up here probably till 2 o'clock talking about all the coaches that have started under him in some capacity. Matt Campbell, obviously from Perry, what he did, you know, what he's doing at Iowa State. His son did a great job when he came in. And now his son-in-law, Jeff Dart, is now the head coach of Mount Union, who's doing great things. Unbelievable. Truly unbelievable to be a part of that and to learn from him, to see where the program has gotten and where it is, the sustainability. And I mean, he went 54, lost one, and then won 55. 109 in the one. You can't do that on PlayStation or Xbox. I mean, but to line up 11 guys week in and week out for 110 weeks and win 109, unbelievable. Also taken a bigger role in the NFL Alumni Association. And for a long time, I knew I was there, but I just still didn't feel like I belonged, you know, for whatever reason. And, you know, this past year has been just amazing. Frank Stams is our Cleveland chapter president. My wife, Gretchen, became the communications director. We've been a part of a lot of different golf outings. Renee Powell's golf outing was amazing. I mean, what she has done. But just being a part of something like that and to see a lot of the old Browns that I grew up watching and all you guys know about, like Reggie Langhorne and Kevin Mack, Felix Wright, and on, Al Jenkins, Hanford Dixon. I get to see these guys after growing up watching in the 80s, Bernie Kosar, of course. But to see how these guys are now today, they still live in the same houses and the same neighborhoods that they did when they played. And they're just such cool people. And to be able to see them, you know, outside of the helmet, outside of what they did, you know, we partnered with the Special Olympics this past spring. And we would go out to Clutch Lanes in Cuyahoga Falls. And we would bowl with different high school teams. You know, Nordonia came over, Cuyahoga Falls, CDCA. So we would bowl every Wednesday with the kids. Mike Tomczak would come out. And to see these guys interact with the kids as people and to be able to hear their stories, to be a part of that, to be a part of the Shield or the brotherhood of the NFL. And as I said, it took me a while to feel like I belonged because I only played 3 years and I never played an NFL snap. I played in preseason, but it didn't matter and it doesn't matter. And it took me a while to realize that and to be a part of that, to share in these experiences with these guys and to be able to give back because of the game of football. It's just been an amazing ride. I'm up here because of the game of football and because of the game that we love so much. You know, football allowed me and got me through college. I was the first college graduate in my family. And if it wasn't for the game, I wouldn't have been able to get through. I know that, and I can say that. Even when I went to college, in the words of Cardale Jones, I really didn't go there to, anyone? Play school. So when I transferred to Mount Union, you know, I'd already had a year of college under my belt. I went to Wilmington, you know, I was a 2.6 student, really cracking the books. So I thought I had it figured out. So I'm transferring to Mount Union, and I'm taking these easy classes. What I thought I ended up taking like a public speaking class and I don't know, racquetball or some stuff, whatever. Anyways, so I came to find out real quick, Mount Union is a lot harder than what Wilmington College is. So I'm struggling a little bit, and you know, as I came home, I remember pulling up in the driveway of my dad's house, who is hopefully watching with Tanya, who's been an unbelievable mother figure to me for as long as I can remember. So I get out of my car and I close my door, and there's a garage door into the garage, and I take like 2 steps and that door flies open and my dad's walking at me and I'm like, holy shit. And now I'm trying to go through my head, what did I do? What did I do that night? What am I gonna get in trouble for? Panic is setting in. So he meets me in the drive and he's like, see your grades yet? And I'm like, oh boy. I'm like, no. He's like, well, I did. You're on academic probation. What the hell happened? 1583 for those scoring at home. 1583. Awful. That wasn't the worst part. The worst part was when I went back to school, when I had to go see LK. So he says he needs to talk to me, and I realized right away it's going to be a come to Jesus talk. And I sit down, And he's looking at me, he goes, what do you want to do? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, what do you want to do besides play football? I'm like, oh, your school. He's like, yeah, you're on academic probation. I'm like, well, I was thinking about being an international agent. He cuts me off, stands up, and he puts his hand on me. He's like, I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to be a teacher and a coach. I changed my major the next day. And I became a teacher and a coach. Some Mr. Galena, who was here in the audience somewhere, and he was asking me, he's like, you don't remember me, do you? I said, of course I do. He was part of the education department. I ended up getting my degree in education. I was certified to teach middle school K through 12. Would substitute teach when I wasn't playing, which was great because I could be around kids, I could talk about the game. Never had any problems. I always tried to get into high school because it was just babysitting, and I get on the computer and look to see who got cut and hurt and try to get on the phone with my agent to get a job. So I ended up substitute teaching. I loved it. And then when I was done playing at 31 years old, and I realized that I had to get a grown-up job, I realized quickly that I didn't want to start over to be a teacher at $31,000 after making really good money, and not so good money, so I ended up getting sales. But I was always destined to be a coach one way or another. I ended up coaching in Cuyahoga Falls for 3 seasons. My first year there, we made the playoffs. And again, talk about full circle. So in 2001, when a young strapping TJ Downing was wearing number 72 at Glen Oak, we opened up with another one of his tough opponents and rivals. We opened up the first week of the season with Jackson, and then we ended up losing to Jackson in the first round of the playoffs. The significance of that is the head football coach at Jackson is now Jay Rohr, who was a senior when we coached against him that year. Pretty cool, which again means I'm getting old. In closing, I'm gonna wrap this up so we can have some questions at the end. I'm here because of the things that I did in a sport that we all love. I earned the right to be up here. I worked hard to get up here, and it's really, really cool for me to share this with you, to share it with my family and my friends. Bobby Veros here, who's been a longtime friend of mine. It's good to see Kevin Shaheen make it out today. Obviously, Scotty, you know how I feel. Unbelievable accomplishments I've had, and like I said, I worked hard to get there, but the coolest thing that I've ever done is my 2 kids. That's what makes me most proud. Because memories and touchdown passes, they fade. But being called dad, that's pretty cool, man. It's really, really cool. And a husband, and to really be a husband. I always wanted to play long enough to where my kids could walk on the field and grab my legs after a big win. The first memory that comes to mind is local guy Nick Cayley, who's a St. Thomas grad, who's now one of the coaches of the New England Patriots. And he's a really good friend of mine. And you see the Facebook pictures of confetti coming down and his kids grabbing his legs, but that didn't happen for me. But to have my kids here today, to be able to say my words, to be able to look them in the eye, I'm proud to be your dad. I'm so proud to be your dad. And I kid with them all the time. It's like, man, I love you more than touchdown passes. I love you more than chicken wings. But thank you very, very much for the opportunity to speak in front of you today again. One more thing. Not only are my kids here, but my daughter is here up front, and she's taking public speaking right now. So one of her assignments in the class was to go see somebody speak. So don't beat me up too bad with the teacher if I didn't look enough at the audience or. But it's great to have him here. I love you guys so much. Thank you all for all your support and the opportunity to speak in front of you today. And hopefully I'll do it again. Another 4 years. I hope it's a little more calm than the last 4 years, to say the least. But thank you very much for this opportunity. And if anybody has any questions, please just stand up and don't hesitate to ask.
Nice to see you. Can you still keep in contact with Coach Garrett?
I see him occasionally. I send him messages every now and then. I saw him this summer when they rededicated the stadium to him. Sometimes at different functions, I might see him at different golf outings. He's so busy. I mean, this guy, he's already in the College Hall of Fame. I don't know if any of you guys know. He's still the quarterback coach of Mount Union now. He can't stay away. So he's got his hands full with his kids and his grandkids and everything else. But we talk every now and then.
Who's your one OAC lost to? Wasn't Ohio Northern, was it? Wittenberg,
Alden Wallace, 1991.
They were loaded that year too?
Absolutely not. I sucked that day. 9 for 27 for 80 yards and 2 picks, no touchdowns. It was one of the only games that I didn't throw a touchdown pass in college, not that I remember. The problem was this. Mount Union had went to the playoffs the previous few years with quarterbacks that were about 5'9", and they were running the veer offense. Does anybody know what the veer is? Yeah. Think Perry with a 6'4" kid who's not a 4'6", 4'5" guy that can run that stuff. So the first 5 games of the year, we were still trying to figure out what kind of offense we could run that would suit my skill set. And it was frustrating because I went to Wilmington and we threw 40 times a game. I went shotgun whenever I wanted. I audibled whenever I wanted. And then I went to Mount running the veer, and I was god awful for the first 5 weeks until we figured it out, and then we got pretty good pretty fast. But if we'd have played them at the end of the year, we would have hammered them. And we tied John Carroll that year, which really sucked. So we went 8-1-1 my sophomore year. We got beat in the national semifinals in '92 up at Wisconsin lacrosse, which we should have won that game, and then we were able to get over the hump in '93.
My question is about Larry Karras Jr. Where is he and why did he leave Mount?
Vince Karras is the co-defensive coordinator at Mount. At Toledo. He left Mount, had an opportunity to go to a bigger school, make more money. I would assume in his head he was trying to take the path that Matt Campbell did to get some experience as a coordinator, and then when a job popped open, if he did a good enough job, then he would have an opportunity to be the head coach. But he's still there. I believe he's in his 3rd, 4th season as co-defensive coordinator.
Yeah, a lot of people don't follow Division III football. Why don't you tell us a little bit about? There like over 300 teams. You win 5 playoff games, be a national champion.
Yeah, the great thing about Division III and Division II, it's March Madness. If you win the conference, you get an automatic bid, and then there's a handful of at-large bids that for teams to get in. But it's bracket play. And you got to win 4 to get to the championship, and then the 5th game is the national championship. So if you have interest in following D3, I mean, now you can watch almost any game because of all the streaming that is available. So if you go to d3football.com and then navigate through, if there's a team or somebody that you know that you might want to watch, you're able to do it that way.
Who are some of the big names you played with in NFL Europe?
Great question. I backed up a guy named Brad Johnson in '95, whose son Maxie started at LSU last year, transferred to Texas A&M. I had my best game as a pro, broke an NFL Europe record when I was playing against Barcelona. Some guy named Kelly Holcomb was playing for them. In 98, when I went back, so I played in 95 in London, backed up Brad, ended up in Scotland the last 2 weeks, played with Matt Blunden from Virginia. And then I went back in 96 and played Steve Matthews, who ended up starting for Jacksonville. And then I went back in 98 to start in Scotland once again. And then in 98, Damon Ward was over there, who started for the Dolphins. 2 quarterbacks were on the Amsterdam Admirals, a couple not so well-known guys, maybe you've heard of them, Jake Delhomme and Kurt Warner. I mean, they were on the same team. And what I'm so glad that there's these other leagues, you know, like the USFL and the XFL, and, you know, there's other opportunities for guys to try to get back to the NFL. And no, the football is not as good, but it's G League basketball, basically. There's a lot of good players. And if it wasn't for that opportunity for me, my career wouldn't have ended up what it was. I mean, NFL Europe really helped me prolong my career and play in 10 seasons and 10 years and 13 seasons and 6 leagues. But there was a ton of good players over there. Joe Andruzzi played offensive line for the Browns and the Patriots. Barry Stokes, who started for Detroit and the Browns. Those 2 guys were 2 of my offensive line in 98. I played with Saran Stacey, who's in the Scottish Claymores Hall of Fame with myself. At the time, Saran Stacey was the best running back to ever play at Alabama. He was a 2nd-round pick by the Philadelphia Eagles.
Do any locals make those foreign teams, or all of them just imports from the United States?
There's NFL Europe ended up, I believe it started in 91 or 92 for a couple years, and then it went away, and then it started back in 95, and it went from like 95 to, I believe, 2007. So after 07, you know, football being one of the big sports didn't have a minor league system. I mean, think about that. They just couldn't make it work. The owners didn't want to spend the money to have teams in Europe. And now you have the XFL and the USFL. And if they can just figure out how to do it right to keep the salaries down, the football is going to continue to get better. And the problem is, as a quarterback, and everybody else always says, well, Beckham's not very good. Well, he's not getting any experience. You know, there's no substitute for game experience playing the quarterback position, and practice reps are way different than game reps. And when you're a backup, you don't get hardly any snaps. I was telling my wife the other day, I was with the Cincinnati Bengals in 94 for 10 weeks, right? Dave Klingler, Jeff Blake, Eric Wellholm. That's when Jeff Blake, you know, blew up on the scene. You know how many reps I took the quarterback the whole time I was there? 2. I played scout team wideout. I thought it was great though. You know, the team would go away and then I would come back to Mount and hang out, and I got a decent amount of money in my pocket. But the point is, the starter would get 95% of the reps. The backup, the number 2 guy, would get maybe 3 or 4. And then the practice squad guy, they would fight for scout team reps. And if you were the, you know, below the 13 guy, you lined up out here like I did, playing wideout. So I hope that these leagues continue, because the NFL needs something like that.
One last
One more question?
You've been in contact with the Browns?
Yeah, through the alumni. I mean, not the organization itself, but through the alumni, like Frank Stams, Al Jenkins, and a lot of those guys. And I almost forgot that, you know, I saw Hanford, you know, you call him Top Dog. You remember the Dog Pound? That guy founded the Dog Pound. I forgot that. You know, I mean, and then you see it, it's like, man, how cool is that? You know, the games that we see and all the faces and everything in the end zone. I mean, he started that. He's he's really cool. Langhorne and Mac and all those guys, you know, all these, I mean, remember when I was my son's age watching those games when the Browns were really good? It was exciting to be a Browns fan. We were doing it the right way. We were winning games. That's a lot of my contact, but I don't have any contact with today's players. Thank you very much.